I set out 3 plates, lit 2 tea candles, and when they finally sat down, my boyfriend and my sister, I pressed play on a recording. His voice, her voice, both of them whispering. You could hear the smile in their mouths. And I watched both their faces turn white while the chicken cooled. Okay, before I get to there, let me back up. I think there's something inherent in how a thing actually happened that's worthy of rewinding. My name's Jess. I'm 30 years old. I lease this bright, rent-stabilized 1-bedroom with a pothose plant that watches me cook. I'm the rule minder in my family, the one who brings sunscreen to a barbecue and Tide sticks to a purse. My sister Lila is 2 years younger, lights up every room she walks into, sings songs at birthday parties. My mom always warns us that we're fire and water. Somehow, that always used to seem like a compliment until it didn't. I met Ryan at a friend's Halloween party 3 years ago. He was Marty McFly, I was an overzealously enthusiastic Bob Ross. We giggled near the cooler when I knocked over a beer, and he handed me paper towels like a gentleman. He's the kind of fellow who recalls your coffee order after you've told him once, who straightens the crooked photo frame at your aunt's and doesn't complain. On our 3rd date, we were at midnight in my kitchen making grilled cheese with way too much butter, and he told me that he hadn't been so calm with someone in a long time. Calm. There's a word you don't fall in love with until you've experienced a little bit of hell. With him, things had a rhythm. Sunday mornings were crossword puzzles. Saturdays at the farmer's market, we always had the salmon teriyaki at that little joint on Broadway. My sister would drop by sometimes, sprawled out on my sofa with our cat, Storm, in her arms, scrolling and bringing me up to speed on her romantic disasters like it was a reality show she was directing in real life. It wasn't that we were all friends, but close enough. Ryan and Lila along, she teased him about his novelty sock collection. He teased her about how she couldn't return borrowed Tupperware. Familiar. If I could encapsulate the tale at the beginning when last summer first began, it would be a gleaming photo. I got a PR at work, and Ryan presented me with this little jade plant that he said was indestructible. Lila had recently broken up with another guy and was rediscovering herself, which meant more visits, late-night pizza on my rug, my Spotify Wrapped becoming infected with her pop preferences. The first weird thing was small. This is embarrassing because it's going to sound so inconsequential at first, and Betrayal doesn't typically enter by way of carrying a neon sign. It starts with little string snapping. We visited my parents for Sunday dinner, and my mom had lemon bars. Lila stretched out to grab one, and Ryan brushed his hand against hers with this little, after you move, exactly on her wrist, loose. It is something he does in the crowd with me, this gentle eating. I remember seeing it and feeling, I don't know, a quiet click in my head. Like when a refrigerator comes back on in the middle of the night and you didn't even realize it had gone off. That's how small it was. And then the hoodie. The gray one with the drawstring that always comes loose, the one I let Ryan keep in my coat closet because I enjoy wearing it when the apartment is too cold. One Tuesday, Lila shows up at that hoodie, messy bun, makeup smeared. I told her, you look cozy, and she says, ugh, I know, I borrowed this from you. It's like a cloud hug. I laughed. I heard the lie screech across the ground between us like a chair. Maybe I might have swallowed it if there weren't others. Ryan started taking his phone face down, which, okay, sometimes people do this out of habit. He would pick up calls in the hallway when I was filling the dishwasher, saying, hey, can I call you back? And his voice would be a little higher, a little lighter, like the first 10 seconds of a lie before it gets its story. I talked myself into it being something made out of nothing. I did it until I couldn't anymore. The night that broke the hinge was so mundane it hurts. I had stayed late. The office microwaves made everything taste like paper, so I had texted Ryan and Lila and offered them leftovers. Lila had written that she was at a friend's a few blocks away. Ryan had said he'd be over my place in 20 minutes. When I got there, the living room was empty, TV not on, blinds closed. Storm was sitting in one of the chairs in a huddle. There was a glass of water on the coffee table with a smudge of coral lipstick. I stood there, bag hanging over my shoulder, the quiet like damp wool. The bathroom door opened a minute later and out came Lila. She did this little surprised face, hand on heart. Oh my God, you scared me, she laughed. Her hair was wet at the ends. I asked, did Ryan stop by? I don't like the sound of how airy my voice was, like I was asking if UPS had come. She shook her head, not looking at me. Nope. Wanted to borrow mascara. My fault. I told you I was down the street. You okay? Here's where if this were a movie, you'd see a split screen, me walking into the bathroom after she left, seeing not just the condensation on the mirror, but 2 toothbrushes knocked over, both damp. My mascara spully rolling against the tile. These tiny breadcrumbs that lead to a cliff. I was at the sink and brushing my teeth with the coppery taste of metal in my mouth and telling myself it was stress. The next day, the universe provided the thing that changed the rhythm of the narrative. I was sitting at my computer, munching on unwanted yogurt, scrolling through mail, when an iMessage flashed up on the laptop screen. This is absurd. I had forgotten Ryan's Apple ID was still active on my computer from when he put some app on it months ago. He has 2-factor, so I never saw anything other than random things like Apple receipts. But this one was a message from Lila. It stated, "Are you coming by later?" I hate to wait. The little gray dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, and then Ryan's text, "Can't get last night out of my head. Be there." I caught my breath for what felt like a minute. My body charged with that hot blistering feeling as if walking through snow in bare feet. I closed the message up like it would annihilate its being. I opened it back again. I read it twice, thrice, my heart pounding at a door it hardly knew it existed. That's where I want to be able to say I stormed off somewhere, threw a glass against the wall, made a scene. That's what TV shows taught me. But I didn't do any of that. I sat stiffly in my chair, and something deep inside me creaked open, like an old window that has been painted shut just swung open. Something I didn't know I had, strategy. The wonderful thing about being water is that when fire shows up, you don't fight it by being fire as well. You cool it down until it dies. I got up and went to the bathroom at the office and closed myself in the stall and quietly cried until my face turned red and my eyes looked like I had lost a battle that I had never engaged in. Then I cleaned my cheeks, went back to my desk, and wrote 2 emails that mattered. One to Lila, "Hi, can we have dinner at my house Friday? I'd like to divide my bonus with you both. I know both of you've earned a week. Onion soup, your favorite. 7, bring that favorite music of yours." I made it sound like a hug. One to my mom, "Could we have Sunday bowl night at your place? I miss everyone." Then I started gathering proof. I don't know if that makes me petty or just a woman who has watched too many people rewrite history on her. I needed the truth to hold power so they couldn't float above it and say I imagined it up. I'm not techie, but I do possess an older iPad I use for recipes. I charged it, placed it sitting between cookbooks on the shelf with the camera face toward the living room, since I knew I couldn't be everywhere at one time, and my brain wouldn't survive if it had to guess. Before anyone complains, yeah, I questioned whether or not I was invading someone's space. I came to a decision: if the line does indeed exist, it would be a line of respect. They had broken that first. It took them one day. Thursday. I told Ryan I was having a late happy hour with coworkers. I told Lila I was taking yoga class. I walked around the block 3 times until streetlights began to flicker and the city looked like a movie set, then up to the apartment when I knew they were out. The iPad lingered for an hour on nothing. And then it lingered for 13 minutes on everything. A kiss one could hear. An apology that was laughter. My name once as a question. Ryan's voice telling me whether he should tell me. Lila's voice saying, "No, wait." After her big month. She'll understand eventually. I think the worst words I will ever hear in my life are, "She'll understand eventually." I listened once. I let it sear a hole in me. And then I hit record on my phone, recorded the recording, because I didn't have faith in technology to fail me when I needed it the most. I sat on the floor and let Storm dig into my lap and felt the nasty burn of it in waves. I let it consume me that night so it wouldn't own me the next. Friday morning, I woke up early and tidied the apartment like a ritual. Vacuum stripes on the carpet, lemon in the sink, fresh flowers on the table. I made the bed because I wanted there to be a border that belonged to me. I washed the gray hoodie and put it, still wet, in a bag. And then I cooked onion soup, crusty bread, chicken with rosemary, carrots roasted. The type of dinner one prepares when they want to honor a life they still have faith in. My hands trembled twice as I chopped, and I pushed them down on the counter to calm them. Ryan said he would be 10 minutes late in a text. Lila sent hearts, and OMG, I can't wait. I put my hair up, wore the little gold hoops my dad had bought me when I graduated, and brushed my teeth until my gums were sore to get the taste of bitterness out of my mouth. Lila arrived first, a cloud of perfume and breath mints, wearing a dress I'd commented on last week on Instagram. She hugged me and said, "I'm so proud of you. Look at you, Martha." She walked the perimeter of my kitchen like a critic in an art gallery, touched the lid of the pot, winked at me. Her eyes can look like concern or like calculation depending on the angle. That night, they looked like both. Ryan came at 7:13 with a bottle of wine and a face that still had the courage to be handsome. He kissed my forehead, then stepped as if to kiss my lips, and I sidestepped, pretending to grab the corkscrew. He did not stop to read that. He never assumed that I would not meet him halfway. We sat down. I placed the bowls on the table. The onion soup caused me to remember all warm child things, and it was obscene at the time. We raised our glasses together, me, two people I loved as if they were my own flesh. It was almost ironic how normal we all tried to be. How the muscle memory of eating dinner can drive traders across a Thursday like a raft. Inside my chest, there was a hummingbird for a heart, banging over and over against the same phantom window. I waited until we were halfway through. I waited while Lila talked about some studio sessions she'd had, and Ryan pretending to have an idea about mixing, and me nodding as if I wasn't counting them 60 again and again under the table. Then I dropped my fork and picked up my phone. My hands trembled in a way that they'd remember years from now. I wanted to propose a toast, I said. My voice was steady. I could be rewarded for that. To honesty. To the people who expose themselves to us. To the truth, even when it is horrific. Ryan smiled at me as if I were reciting poetry. Lila tilted her head. And I stroked my phone, and that little Bluetooth speaker on the bookshelf came to life, and I clicked play. It was their voices. On my living room floor. The same one we sat in. Lila's laughter, that fluting wind chime sound it makes when she knows she shouldn't. Ryan's voice, a bit deeper than his regular voice, whispering, we shouldn't, the way people say, please convince me we should. I wish I could describe just how their faces changed. Lila's face fell flat. Ryan's eyes did this small, almost undetectable squeeze. There are 100 ways to be sorry. None of them lasted on their faces during that first second. What did last there was calculation. How to move ahead of the thing that had already happened. I let it play out the worst of it. Not everything. I didn't want to torture myself with the facts. Just long enough for both of them to know I had it, and I knew, and would not be able to revise, would not be able to fog. I stopped it. The soup boiled. Outside, a siren drove by like a crude soundtrack and then disappeared. Jess, Ryan stated, and it was incredible how naturally he slipped into his gentle tone. We can explain. My laugh was this tiny broken thing that didn't belong to me at all. Explain, I replied. You were in my house. Lila placed her napkin on the table slowly, as if she were in an expensive place and I was a waiter. I'm so sorry, she said. This is complicated. You've been so busy and I... Nope, I said. Don't do that. Don't turn my calendar into a weapon. She flinched, and for a moment, I was my 8-year-old little sister again, under blankets, eyes huge, the world nasty. Then that was behind me, and all I could focus on was the woman who was so good at winning. We didn't mean to hurt you, she said. Oh? You meant to do what? Do something with you? Write a song about it. I could feel the meanness rising up in me like smoke. I swallowed it. Mean would let them make me out to be the bad guy. I just wanted the truth to be the truth. Ryan reached across the table for my hand. I withdrew my hand and took out my phone. I opened up the family group chat, the one where my mom shares recipes and my dad posts blurry photos of the dog, and my cousin asks whether anyone wants her extra concert tickets. I typed, having dinner with Ryan and Lila. Before someone gets a version of this from someone it did happen to, here's what happened. I sent the clip. I sent it. In seconds, those gray-red receipts were like widow's weeds. Mom, read. Dad, read. Uncle Pete, read. There's that disgusting thing your body does where relief and pain occur at exactly the same time. My phone rang out of the blue. I turned it off. Mom. Again. Dad. And then a text from my mom. Jessica? What is this? Lila, answer the phone. Then the flood. My Florida aunt with too many emojis typed. Oh, sweetie, are you okay? My grandmother. Call me. My cousin. What the hell? Lila stood up, her chair scraping on the floor, the sound the same note as my anxiety. You sent that to the family? She asked, as if I'd committed a war crime. Yes, I replied. I don't wish to be the one crazy in whispered conversations. I don't wish to reside in the portion of the story where I doubt myself. I wish the portion where the truth is revealed, so I need not bear it by myself. Ryan's face. God, he does this thing with his mouth when he is angry and doesn't want to appear angry. He did that. "This is vindictive," he said softly, "because he can make soft weapons." "You both decided something in my house," I told them, in just the same quiet way. I rose. I laid my hand down flat on the table, felt the wood under my hand, as if I needed to remind my body where I was. "You do not get to set the rules of my grieving." There was that moment where everything just sort of hung. I could smell the rosemary and the metallic glow of the wine opener and the candle being reduced to nothing. My sister was on the verge of tears. Ryan wanted to break things and hold me as well. For a mad, infinitesimal second, I wanted to forgive them both so it would hurt no more. And Storm sat up on a chair and knocked his head against the table and released this tiny noise, and I remembered the iPad video and a Wednesday morning and my mascara spoolie going round and round on my bathroom floor. I was thinking how I am, and this happened. "Get out," I said to him in a voice outside of where I keep the answers to the security questions. Full name, first pet, first crush, mother's maiden name. "Both of you. Now." Lila opened her mouth like she had a last card up her sleeve, and then closed it. Lila put her hand in her bag. Ryan hesitated, thinking if he was the kind of man he told me he was, or if he was a man who would make up excuses. He took his jacket and wine bottle and remarked, "I wish you would have let us talk." "You had months to discuss," I said to him. "You couched out in my living room instead." The door closed behind them. That noise should be satisfying. It was only the silence dropping downstairs and then landing down next to me on the floor. I waited there for a minute, and then another minute, and then I reached into the bag and groped for the gray hoodie, and I threw it away. It made this stupid little thump and rolled over the grounds, and I glared at it like it had personally insulted my ancestors. When I finally departed, I moved as if I were walking underwater. I blew out the candles. I wrapped foil over the chicken. I poured the wine down the drain. It was akin to rinsing blood from hands that did not spill anyone's blood. I tidied up dinner to which no one was entitled. I placed Storm's bowl down and watched him goofy, stubborn joy and tuna, and I thought, okay, some things remain sensible. My phone rang like a slot machine. Mom, Lila, Dad, my aunt. I let them stack. And then I called my friend Nina because she's the one who will always answer no matter what. When she picked up and I didn't talk and she could hear me breathing weird, she said, "Tell me where you are and I'll come." "I'm home," I said. I cooked dinner and served a war. She came in her horrid slippers and a tub of ice cream and her great, angry eyes. She listened to it all through, holding my hand between both her own as if it might float away. She didn't say I was courageous, bless her. She didn't say that I was improved. She just said, "This hurts, and I see why you sent it," and then, "Okay, what do I say to your mom?" like the best lawyer. When she left at midnight, I scalded myself so hot my skin went pink and cried the way your body only makes you cry when you're alone in tile. That kind where your throat hurts, where you're crying like an animal, and then you feel ashamed of crying alone. I sat on the floor of the tub until the water got cold and the mirror steam came back to normal mirror and I could look at my face again. It's not a bad face. I didn't know that on that night. The world didn't end the following day. The sun wasn't aware. I had the locks replaced. That was the initial errand. The second one was the acquisition of new sheets, for fabric has memory, and I wished for amnesia. I picked green ones, the color of the interior of a lime, and a duvet cover with extremely fine stitching that looks like rain. I got my hair cut, just enough so that I felt like I'd lost something. A woman in the salon asked me where I bought my earrings, and I said, my dad, and didn't put in the fill-in ex-boyfriend left his toothbrush in my sink. Normalcy was a tortoise, and I treated it like that. The family group text was a war zone that weekend. My mom tried to corral us like a righteous shepherd. "We need to talk. This is not how we do things." My grandma texted me in all caps, "This is a family." My dad sent me a heart, and then, "I love you." That's it. Lila sent me paragraphs of apology that somehow got placed in air quotes. Ryan sent one message that said, "I never meant," and then stopped. I did what hurting people do when they don't want to open the next door. I silenced the whole world for 48 hours. I appeared at my parents' on Sunday without warning anyone. I brought the jade plant that Ryan had left me and left it sitting on the porch like a hostage delivery. My dad engulfed me in a hug as big as a house. My mom's eyelids were puffy and there was a stew pot, and she couldn't stop brushing her fingers through my hair as if she musted everything would be okay. Lila wasn't there. She wasn't invited. Or she was and didn't come. Not my circus. Not anymore. We talked in circles around the hole for a little while. My mother told me, "She is your sister," as if it were a curse I could shake off by simply shaking my head. I said, "She still is." That's the trouble. During the quiet after dinner, my father asked, "Is there anything I can do?" "Say I don't have to be the one to repair this," I grumbled. And he said, "You don't have to be the one to repair this," as if he could grant this wish. It took weeks for the tremors to subside. The former rhythms contained specters. The farmer's market contained the stand where we always bought peaches in a brown bag. The bag made me draw in tight. Each of the songs had a verse I wanted to tattoo across. Occasionally, I'd be sitting at work, typing something so mundane, and my body would let me know out of the blue that once in my living room, two people had determined I was furniture they could relocate while doing whatever they were doing. Sometimes I'd be thinking too far ahead in panic that trust is something you only have once and I blew it, and what if no one ever gives me a second chance? This is what I've learned now, which I didn't know before. Loving someone doesn't deprive them of hurting you. Family does not mean owing someone your dignity as a coupon. Some betrayals are a knife and some are a slow poison, but your job is to survive either way. The tape was never meant to humiliate. It was about keeping my brain from playing games with me. It was about keeping them from writing it off as a misunderstanding, calling me unstable, too sensitive, too everything. There's a kind of closure in putting the truth out in the open. Monsters are little in the daylight. So are some relationships. I don't know if my approach is the right approach. I know it was my way. And my life has been something else ever since. Not all at once. I joined a climbing gym because my hands wanted to hold on to something and know that it would. I started cooking for one and plating it like a party just because I'm sitting at the table. I dyed one streak of my hair this ridiculous auburn because no one else had a say. I belt along in the car even when I don't know the words. I befriended a dog at the park who liked me more than he should and let him lean against my shin like I was a tree. Lila texted me on my birthday. She said, "Can we talk? I miss you." The former me would have taken that hook and hung a whole peace agreement on it. The me who wasted that dinner just sitting there in silence and didn't scream and send a recording to my grandmother like in a soap opera? She said, "I'm not ready. I hope you're okay." And then I put my phone down and didn't touch it for an hour. That's a win a reserved individual understands. And Ryan? He wrote me a letter. On paper. 3 pages of "I never imagined," "I'm sorry about," "I'll always love you," and one sentence that almost killed me, "I miss our Sundays." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it in half and stuck it in the box with the Polaroids and menus and the sake cup he got me at that market in Queens. I put the box on a shelf, not because I'm holding on to him, because I'm holding on to me. I hold that story now, it doesn't hold me. When I recall that dinner, how their expressions blanked out when they heard their own betrayal, I don't feel triumphant. I still feel queasy, but I do feel relieved. I did not become the kind of woman who screams and throws plates and loses herself to cruelty. I became somebody who let the truth speak and brought them to the door and continued moving myself into a life of mine. If you're listening to this wherever you are in the dark with your phone held inches from your face because you can't sleep and you're wondering if your gut is your nemesis, perhaps it's not. Perhaps it's just the least sexy, most faithful friend you've got. Perhaps it's drumming its fingers waiting for you to get with it. The most sweetness of revenge wasn't the recording, though that was sweet in its own feral way. It's waking up today, brewing coffee in my favorite mug, the one with the chip I always face the other side, listening to a song I like, petting my stupid cat who purrs like a lawnmower, and sitting in a chair in a room that is mine entirely. It's a door that closes with a click behind me every night, and it keeps only what I desire inside. It's that the world did not end, but something did, and I get to choose what fills the void left behind. If you ever went through something like this, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.